To understand the birth of prisons, we have to travel back over 4,000 years to the cradle of civilization, ancient Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, modern-day Iraq. Known as the first civilization to invent writing, mathematics, and complex law codes, it's no surprise that Mesopotamia also shaped the very idea of imprisonment. In these early days, imprisonment wasn't about punishment, it was a holding pattern. Dungeons or underground pits served mainly as temporary places to detain accused criminals, while rulers decided their fate, whether that meant fines, exile, or harsher punishments like forced labor or even death. And here's a fascinating fact. The famous Code of Hammurabi, one of the world's oldest deciphered writings dating back to around 1754 BCE, mentions imprisonment, but only sparingly. Imprisonment was more of a tool of convenience, not the sentence itself. As we move westward, the Greeks and Romans inherited and evolved the concept. For the Greeks, prisons were still detention centers, often dark, damp, and used until a trial or punishment could be decided. Athens' infamous Ecodemos prison, for instance, was a place no one wanted to stay long. The Romans built some of the earliest prisons with harsher reputations. The Mamertine prison, constructed in the late 7th century BCE under Rome's earliest kings, was a grim dungeon below the city, cold, brutal, and feared. Here prisoners awaited execution or exile. Gladiators, foreign enemies, and political prisoners found themselves confined within these walls. Think of these early prisons as a kind of detention waiting room. Instead of community service or probation, ancient societies often decided a person's fate through brutal penalties rather than incarceration as we know it. As time marched forward to medieval Europe, prisons didn't become more humane overnight. Early medieval prisons were simply castle dungeons, holes in stone walls where prisoners languished in darkness and despair. They weren't built for long-term incarceration, but as places to hide or remove enemies from sight. But one prison would change the narrative: Bridewell Prison in London. Established in the early 16th century, originally a royal palace, it transformed into a correctional institution focused on reform through work and discipline, a pioneering step towards the modern prison, the beginning of the chain gang, if you will. Fast forward a couple of centuries and we meet Jeremy Bentham, a philosopher with a revolutionary idea, the Panopticon. Imagine a circular prison with a central watchtower where a single guard could observe every inmate without ever being seen. This design aimed to encourage self-discipline through constant surveillance, an architectural metaphor for control and reform. Whether you agree with Bentham's vision or not, the Panopticon influenced prison design worldwide, and echoes of it remain in our justice systems today. In the early 19th century, true penitentiaries emerged: Millbank Prison in London and later Pentonville, designed not just to hold prisoners but to rehabilitate them through isolation, labor, and reflection. For the first time, imprisonment became a sentence aiming to reform character, not only punish crime. This shift reflected a broader societal change, from cruel, irreversible punishments towards regulated systems founded on law, order, and hope for rehabilitation. So the first prisons were so much more than just locked rooms. They were crucibles of fate, where hope and despair battled behind stone and steel. Every cell became a silent witness to the torments and yearnings of souls cast aside, the places where ancient and medieval societies confronted the true cost of justice and punishment. Through iron bars and cold walls, humanity grappled with its darkest instincts and its deepest aspirations. From shadowy, suffocating dungeons to today's labyrinths of high-tech security, the history of prisons is not just a chronicle of bricks and bars. It's the raw, ongoing struggle of civilization to define fairness, to wrestle order from chaos, and to reckon with the fragile and indomitable spirit of those within. If you found this journey into the history of prisons fascinating, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more deep dives into the stories behind some of the world's most intriguing institutions. Thanks for watching Real Prison Histories.